Formula One is back after a long 3-week break, and we're headed into Austin, where the teams will bring massive upgrade packages that will be tested on a brand new resurfaced circuit. The organisers of the race have taken notes when comments were dished out last year regarding the surface of the circuit of the Americas, so now we should be headed into quite an interesting racing weekend that never failed to give real excitement to the fans of the sport. But how should the teams adapt to the new circumstances, and which team should be favoured heading into the sprint race weekend? One of the most important things that we should mention about Austin is that it will be a sprint weekend, which means that the drivers will have an opportunity to grab an additional 8 points, and that could prove to be massive in the Drivers' Championship fight. But on top of that, the top teams will bring upgrades that they will have only 1 hour to test before heading into the sprint race, which is definitely going to be a challenge, even though they won't lock in the setup after the first and only free practice of the race. The most important change that has been made because of the negative comments last year is the surface of the track, as the COTA is now fully resurfaced and not just partially like it was last time in 2021. Comments from Verstappen stated that the track felt like it was more suited for a rally car than Formula One machinery, which the organisers of the race made sure they would pay a lot of attention to heading into this year's event. Obviously, the sales of the tickets have skyrocketed since Verstappen stopped to win races back in Spain, and it's now very interesting to see how many people will visit the race, knowing that there will be a lot of interesting things to keep an eye on, such as the grip of the cars on the new asphalt. Although it's always good for drivers to go on a newly resurfaced tarmac, there are always challenges that come with it, with the two most important ones being the reduced amount of grip and the increased amount of tyre degradation due to the new asphalt. With no Formula 2 or Formula 3 events this weekend, there are no other series to lay some rubber before Formula 1 heads onto the circuit, which is going to be a huge problem for the drivers in terms of hitting the brake zones and attacking the curbs with the proper speed and angle. On top of that, the new asphalt is bringing a massive challenge with the tyre degradation. So far, we've seen that as the race progresses, McLaren somehow finds tons of performance out of their car, while the rest of the grid have been dropping off massively. Whether or not this will change with the new asphalt, it's up to us to see, mostly because we don't know what we should expect out of the new upgrades from the teams. Every top team expects a lot from their upgrade package in Austin, and the new surface should provide faster lap times once the drivers get to know the new nature of the circuit. But what is going to be very interesting to witness is whether Red Bull, Ferrari or McLaren would engage in a 3-team battle at the top, or whether or not Mercedes will be able to join them now that they expect a lot from their own upgrade package as well. Apart from the changes that are happening on the track, Austin will see a lot of changes on the cars as well, starting with Red Bull, who are ready to bring the momentum back on their side, and ending with Mercedes, who are also ready to make a surprising appearance at the top of the podium like they did in Belgium, Austria and Silverstone. Obviously, the new regulations are very tight and they are not allowing the teams to have a lot of flexibility, which is why we've seen such drop-offs in the team's performance from one race to another. Christian Horner said that this race is a natural place to bring upgrades to, and when talking about it to a greater extent, the Brit said, "I think for all teams, Austin will be a natural time of the year to bring some news. We have something important, but I think Ferrari, Mercedes and McLaren will also have updates. Our goal is to build on the basis of what we began to understand clearly after Monza and bring a car that is well balanced between the two axles to give confidence to the driver, but it will not be easy." If we look at Lando's performance in the first stint in Singapore, we need about 23 seconds. We started to figure things out and find some solutions, but we have a lot to do. Obviously, it will depend on how the car responds from a mechanical and aerodynamic point of view, but also on the tyres, which are particularly sensitive this year. And we should not forget the fact that McLaren is also bringing in upgrades here to counter Red Bull's bid, as we are headed into a very interesting championship fight in the Drivers' Championship. The Woking-based squad is holding off a new floor because they are also not sure whether or not it will bring performance or if it will hold them back like it did with the other teams. Right now, it's quite a tricky situation for McLaren because even though they have the momentum on their side, they are yet to fight the other teams once they mount the more flexible front wings and the new floors, which is something that could force McLaren to go in a new direction with their upgrades. However, Andrea Stella was adamant that while the team has some work in the pipeline, they need to trust the process that they've been completing for quite some time now. And when talking about it to a greater extent, the team principal of McLaren said, "We do have some stuff in the pipeline." Obviously, when you have this kind of performance on track, you always approach things from a cautious point of view in terms of development. At the same time, we need to trust the process. We need to trust the way we've been working so far. I've said already that we have taken our time to make sure that once we deliver trackside, we have done the due diligence. So I don't think this will change our plans. Ferrari have stated that they will be bringing a more flexible front wing in Austin as well, because naturally, when the FIA doesn't step in and punish the ones of Mercedes and McLaren, it brings a situation where the rest of the grid should follow suit in order to bring more performance to their cars. Of course, to hope that the missing performance is sitting just in this part is kind of a far-fetched scenario, but with these teams being so close in performance, the difference between P1 and P6 in qualifying could be as little as 1 to 2 tenths of a second, and we've seen how difficult overtaking is under dirty air conditions throughout the 2024 season. To spice things up, Mercedes is bringing a brand new upgrade package to their car, and when talking about it, Allison stated that the team is now committed to seeing what hurt their race in Singapore and to make sure it won't happen again from Austin onwards. Elaborating to a greater extent, Allison said, "In the 3-week break, we'll be trying to figure out how to mitigate what ailed us this weekend in Singapore, how to figure out how to make the tyres run better on this sort of overheating circuit, and we'll also be doing quite a lot of work to bring our last upgrade of the season together. We've got a fairly substantial set of new clothes for the car coming for Austin that we hope will give us a decent weekend there. So we've got to deliver all of that and get ourselves ready for these last few races of the year." All of this is slowly but surely shaping up to be a very interesting remainder of 2024, and with Norris now having to cut down more than 8 points per race, something he has done only once this season, and it was on an occasion where Verstappen didn't finish the race in Australia, we should be looking at an intense situation between the top two drivers on the grid. Piastri has also committed to help his teammate if his help is needed, but not under any given circumstance. And obviously this should put Red Bull in a very dangerous situation because they do not have the same help from Perez for Verstappen. With all this in mind, what do you think about this year's Austin GP? And more importantly, who do you think will prevail at the end of this race? Let us know what you think in the comments below.